Hello. So, I'm very inspired today to talk about my heart is beating very fast. Um, like emotional. Ooh, my. Let me check. Okay, hopefully this works. I don't think anyone's here, but let me know if you can hear me. I think you can. Let me know if you can hear me. I had to switch my audio. Um, but okay, what I want to talk about today is much more like directly personal, emotional, and I want to stir this up by looking at some song lyrics. And then I'm going to basically pattern the song lyrics. Oh, great, Rick. Thanks you for letting me know. Nice to see you. Yeah, I'm going to pair these song lyrics to the current astrology, in particular, the Jupiter Pluto opposition. But um, yeah, so if you've heard of K-pop Demon Hunters, it's a movie that went super mega viral over the last, was it year or 2 years? And I've never seen anything like it in my life in terms of the emotional honesty. And I think that it represents the Leo Aquarius dynamic and weight that we have been all in the midst of, and that has been growing even since 2020. So after I show some lyrics, I'm actually going to bring us through 3 different dates starting in 2020, 2023, and then later this month, July. That's the conjunction between Jupiter Pluto, the first quarter square between Jupiter Pluto, and the opposition between Jupiter Pluto. And why this is important is because Pluto is where we die. Pluto is where we totally lose it and transform ourselves in ways that we couldn't have expected. That is the nature of Pluto. It is one of the most challenging, difficult, transformative places. That's the simple nature of it. Um, and of course, Jupiter is where we learn and where we expand and where we grow. And so when you have Jupiter and Pluto in cycles with each other, as we always do, but in particular when they hit strong aspects with each other, it correlates globally and personally, of course, to um, dynamics of dying wisdom or like dying intuition, and having to watch your own belief shatter. Okay. And that's what this movie does very well, um, in terms of bringing you through an emotional arc. Okay. So I'm going to share the song lyrics now. If you haven't seen this movie, I would highly recommend you to. I'm bringing all this up because I have such deep personal experiences at these dates that I mentioned earlier. And the power of this song, what it sounds like, is the power of resolution. So often I think movies and challenging times will set up, we'll start to put our pulse on a very difficult storyline in our lives, or we're watching it and it seems like it's impossible to resolve. In the case of this movie, there was an identity of one of the characters that seemed impossible to integrate into the rest of the life. And what happens by the end is that everyone recognizes they have a wound that feels impossible to integrate. But once one person kind of devolves, once one person unravels, then everyone ends up unraveling as well. And I think that it's I don't know, I get chills every time I listen to it. And I'm gonna just go through the lyrics one by one here and watch what it might elicit in you. That's kind of the whole point of me reading this out. Like, watch what these lyrics elicit within you as I speak to it, because whatever the storylines coming up that you can Um, that basically whatever this is bringing up for you is a Jupiter Pluto dynamic. Is that's kind of the whole point of this. Okay, so but it's the resolution of the Jupiter Pluto dynamic, which is very, very powerful to have a story that actually that comes to such a profound resolution, that it's such a um, widely felt resolution. And I think if you watch this movie from start to finish, you'll feel that for yourself. And I don't know. I'm someone where I think if you watch an art form resolve, there's a part of you that can also resolve. Okay. So this is the song called What It Sounds Like. And this phrase, what it sounds like, is responding to a question that's posed in the film early on that says, like, basically, because this is about a girl group, a singing group, and they're trying to make a new song. The songs that they've been writing, they're not seeming to hit or land for everyone in the right way. And they go through this whole crazy arc experience and finally come to this song that they've been meaning to write, which is called What It Sounds Like. And this is what the song sounds like, or what the resolution sounds like. Okay. All right. So first line here is nothing but the truth now. Nothing but the proof of what I am. Right. This is very Jupiter Leo for me. What like truth and proof are very Jupiterian words, because these are the things that we can use to like believe in ourselves, and the storyline of belief, which is definitely a Jupiter thing. It's definitely a personal thing, but what we have conviction in for ourselves. So nothing but the truth now, nothing but the proof of what I am. The worst of what I came from, the patterns I'm ashamed of, the things that even I don't understand. Right? This is the Pluto right here. Pluto is that stuff that you cannot break free from, the pattern that you can't break free from, the obsession, the darkness within ourselves. The pattern here is a really important part of this movie. And to me, that's a very Aquarian and Uranian Gemini thing going on, the patterns I'm ashamed of, the things that I don't even understand, the mystery of Pluto, the reason we keep being dragged down into the dark still. I tried to fix it. I tried to fight it. My head was twisted, my heart divided. And I think I named the video after this line. I think this is where I'm tuning in very strongly right now to this idea. I tried to fix it. I tried to fight it. This is Virgo, and this is the South Node in Virgo, and this is Venus on the South Node in Virgo right now. I mean, I'm correlating this to the astrology of this present moment, but of course these lyrics will live beyond any one astrological chart. But Virgo is all about trying to make things right and fix things and edit them so that they can work. And Virgo takes something that's pre-existing and tries to contort it into what it thinks the truth is. And in this movie, there's a character, the ant. There's an ant who plays a central figure, a very Virgo figure, forcing one of the characters to basically contort into something that they're not. And that will twist your head. My heart divided, my lies all collided. I don't know why I didn't trust you to be on my side. And this feeling, this is what I want you to feel into. Because when I read this is where I become the most emotional. And I'm really not someone who cares too much about movies, by the way. I don't know if you like get into movies easily. I don't know why this movie kicks me so much, but this phrase, my head was twisted, my heart divided. I felt this so strongly over these last 5 years, and the dates I'm going to bring up after I go through these lyrics, I'll share more about why. But this twisted of the head, the divided heart, and the lies that at what point does a lie is a lie before we're just hiding our truth, right? I don't know why I didn't trust you to be on my side, right? Like when people are there for you and then you are so internally fraught. It is such a visceral experience that I think the Jupiter Pluto dynamics are filled with this, because we think we know what our truth is. right? With Jupiter, we think that we know how it fits into the world, and then Pluto comes along and says, well, have you been honest with yourself? Have you integrated the darkness that is true of you also, right? And that's back up here, the patterns that I'm ashamed of. Like, everyone has them. Okay, so here's the next. I broke into a million pieces and I can't go back. But now I'm seeing all the beauty in the broken glass. The scars are part of me, darkness and harmony, my voice without the lies. This is what it sounds like. My goodness. I mean, I think most people have broken into a million pieces at some point in their life, hopefully not many times, because that's not very sustainable for the nervous system. But I do think breaking into a million pieces and not being able to go back is one of the most challenging experiences we can go through in life, because we have an identity that we think that we are, and then it shatters. And then that means every other construct of our life also shatters. But the next line is, now I'm seeing all the beauty in the broken glass. The scars are part of me, darkness and harmony. I mean, just imagine broken glass, like on the skin, cutting us. And I think, as I'm saying, everyone has an experience like this at some point in their lives, where the wound makes the darkness just so clear. But the darkness and harmony, bringing all these things together, I think this is the quintessential reflection of our times for some reason, because we're no longer trying to just be all happy, love, and light all the time. We're trying to integrate the things that even we don't like about ourselves. And it's not to like make it all perfect, but it's just to bring more trust in the process and acceptance of the process. My voice without the lies, this is what it sounds like. Why did I cover up the color stuck inside my head? I should have let the jagged edges meet the light instead. This is one of the most powerful lines to me. I should have let the jagged edges meet the light. My goodness. It just is so visceral for me. I don't know why, but just like the jagged edges that like cut other people, you know what I mean? And this is not hypothetical. Like, we all have hurt other people, thinking we're protecting them by lying, to keep our version of the truth, the one that we are able to live in. But like, slowly that breaks us down, right? Show me what's underneath, Pluto. I'll find your harmony. The song we couldn't write, this is what it sounds like. You know, I don't even know how else to explain this. The song we couldn't write, this is what it sounds like. Show me what's underneath, I'll find your harmony. It's like, put everything out and like trust. I mean, it's the epitome of trust, and the epitome of not even like trust in some higher power, but like acceptance of everything that's going on, even the worst thing that you have to admit to, and the worst thing you suppress, the worst thing that eventually comes out, it will be harmonious with something else, and the resolution will come, right? We're shattering the silence, we're rising, defy it, shouting in the quiet, you're not alone. We listen to the demons, we let them get between us, but none of us are out here on our own, right? This listening to the demons, this is very much so our own inner self, right? And this Virgo stuff, which only wants us to contort when we're not living into Virgo in a more healthy expression. So we were cowards, so we were liars, so we're not heroes, we're still survivors. This is another part that really got to me, because I think admittance of failure, admittance of being cowardly and not being brave. Everyone likes to say like, oh, you were so brave to do this and that and to live with it. But sometimes you just have to like admit that it was wrong, or we weren't living up to ourselves. We're not actually anything more than anyone else. We're just heroes and we're surviving. The dreamers, the fighters, no lying, I'm tired, but dive in the fire and I'll be right here by your side. Yeah, that fire is the Pluto. That fire is the going back into Pluto, choosing to do that. Okay, and I think what's been happening since 2020, we had the conjunction, and then we had to make a hard decision in 2023. And then now with the opposition, we are kind of jumping back into the fire in a more intentional way now, because they've become equal. Like, our desire to know ourselves, to enjoy the wisdom that we have, no matter how personal, no matter how challenging it is, that's the sign of the times, right? Okay, let me just keep going and finish this so I can show you my other document. But we broke into a million pieces and we can't go back. Everyone is kind of shattered, which is very much so a Pluto in Aquarius signature for me. Everyone being the Aquarian, being shattered, which is a Pluto dynamic. Everyone is shattered, Pluto and Aquarius. But now we're seeing all the beauty in the broken glass, right? With so much broken glass, as it were. Talk about the reflective light and just accepting the scars that come from tons of broken glass everywhere. You know what I mean? And recognizing that everyone is going through that. But the honesty, the my voice without the lies, this is what it sounds like. Why did we cover up the color stuck inside our heads? Which is, to me, all of the things we kept back, all of the truths that we didn't let ourselves live into. Get up and let the jagged edges meet the light instead. I mean, this is like our own identity as like broken glass. We're like walking around as like broken glass figures, like trying not to cut each other from the sides because we're so internally damaged. Like there's been so much perception, or we've been convincing ourselves that we've been so messed up from what's come before us. Show me what's underneath. I'll find your harmony. Fearless and undefined. This is what it sounds like. Fearless and undefined is interesting. Undefined in terms of we don't need to know any one thing about who we think we are or what is the truth in one certain way. This is what it sounds like. And this is just another refrain of the same thing. So I really recommend, I think someone in last time I did a live stream, Tori was asking, and I think like about how do we interpret the sky based on our own chart? Like how do we merge the transits with our own chart? And one thing I said was like, don't even look at the transits. Like if you know astrology, obviously you can go in and analyze it. But honestly, I think it's far more like you need to make sure that you're actually feeling it. And I'm sharing this because this is something I feel very, very deeply. I don't know if that's being conveyed, but I wouldn't spend my time to talk about it if I didn't. Just these lyrics cut so deep for me. And okay, now I want to share something else, which is basically the dates of the the dates of the Jupiter-Pluto opposition. Let me get this going here. Okay, so I hope you can see this. Where did everybody go? Oh, there. Okay. Okay. So here's what I'm talking about. This Jupiter-Pluto dynamic, we're going into this by July 20th. We'll have the Jupiter-Pluto opposition. But the reason I just went through those lyrics is, like I said earlier, to hopefully like give you a real emotional experience to work with. Because when I have all these words here, it's not just words. Like for me, these are coming from a very direct experience with these archetypes that are pulsing in me still and that are alive and that don't necessarily have a resolution, but the resolution is in the seeing of it themselves. And that song, this is what it sounds like is the resolution to real internal fraught. And that resolution comes in present moment, like returning to the fire, like seeing yourself as equal to the fire, which is a Jupiter-Pluto opposition, right? You have Jupiter here and then Pluto on the other side here. Any opposition is about the equality of things and the dance that needs to be created between two orbs in order to create equality. And we've been building up until this opposition since 2020. And that's what I want to start with here. We had that Jupiter-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn. Now, granted, there were other effects, like other Saturn was also there. So there was a lot going on, but I'm going to focus just on Jupiter and Pluto, which is anything like the death of wisdom, the wisdom in death, expanding death. We know in 2020 there was a great expansion of death, expanding rebirth, killing or the ending of a certain study path, killing or ending of a certain travel path, restarting an education path from zero, restarting something around traveling from zero. These are all Jupiter things, by the way. Initiation into a wisdom tradition, initiation being a very plutonic, like you get dragged down into the depths of something very dark and unknown in order to learn, right? Also, this conjunction was something to do with being magnetized to a charismatic teacher or individual, or being just magnetized or obsessed with a certain idea, a certain understanding of the world. And if it's not clear, anything that's related to wisdom here is about Jupiter, and anything related to Pluto here is about death. And so this is the cycle, the Jupiter-Pluto cycle, about death and wisdom, and how our wisdom dies over time. Anything we can sell or explain is a Jupiter thing, and how that has to go through cycles of death and rebirth. So that was what was going on in 2020. And the thing about Pluto is it's not just death. It's not just everything's gone and forever gone. It's, we're still alive with Pluto. And so it's very Phoenix oriented. Like you have to be reborn. And I don't think that we were reborn in 2020. I think that we just, there was a part of us that got reborn, but I don't think that it is till now at the opposition that we are able to hold both ends of our own selves, the power and the implicit transformation that Pluto suggests, and the wisdom and the personal belief that of Jupiter and Leo. Like they're equaling each other now, and that's the point. And it's a dynamic that's not static, right? It's very dynamic. I think it's taken us this long in order to come to strength for ourselves. Okay. So I don't know if anyone's watching, if you feel like something like this happened in April 2020, or of course around 2020, but I mean something very personal. Like I know for me, every one of these things happened, in fact, in huge ways. I mean, I know collectively we had a lot of this, like expansion of death and understanding death. But yeah, I don't know. If you want to chat about that, let me know. But basically then in 2023, Jupiter had kept moving and entered its first quarter square with Taurus, in Taurus. By that time, Pluto was already in Aquarius. So that first quarter square is always a difficult yes, right? That's like Jupiter needs to expand and say yes to something difficult that it's basically been preparing for. So in between 2020 to 2023, what happened was Jupiter was moving much more quickly than Pluto, which means our desire to grow intellectually, our desire to understand life, our desire to grow our wisdom and learn and really teach from our heart, do the thing we're meant to do. That was growing in the context of the death that we had experienced. And so it's difficult because we think that maybe at that point we were growing something very powerful in our own teaching. We felt we were becoming, like we were growing some powerful wisdom, but actually we were just preparing and studying in order to make a decision in 2023 at that square, which was a difficult yes to basically choose to identify. That's the first quarter square, because it's not going to be handed to you. The job, the identity, right? That's the point where you have to stand up and say, this is who I am. And so we needed to continue on a teaching or a study path that we thought was going to empower us, but ultimately that dragged us back into darkness. Unless, of course, you were able to find your personal power, because that's all that Jupiter wants is us, that's all that Pluto wants is us to find the personal power within us. Pluto is so difficult because anytime we give our power away outside of us, Pluto will drag us back down. And of course, there are seasons around that in lives, but Jupiter will just expand the dynamic of where we are giving our power away. And that's kind of life, right? Life is about returning to simplicity internally, but Jupiter will expand and exacerbate where we are giving and getting our power from. So at this time in 2023, we had that difficult decision to continue on a teaching or a study path that was meant to empower us, which is that Pluto thing, but it eventually dragged us back into darkness before we found our personal power. At least that was my experience. Yes, to material wisdom expansion that was not sustainable, right? This was Jupiter in Taurus, so there was something really material. There was something really, even I would say slow. Jupiter in Taurus was quite slow, but there was something kind of like throbbing under the earth that we were trying to share more widely with the world. That's very much so the first quarter square is like you have to push it out of you. And so essentially this time in 2023 was a very big part, in the storyline of where we are now, because we said yes to something that we thought was going to expand us, but actually ended up being like the wrong or difficult, like it made our lives more difficult later on. And I think that that's because Pluto will always be this way. Pluto will always, like, if you are not deriving your power and your decisions from an internal acceptance of yourself, or in like internal power, if you're giving your power away, if you're waiting on something outside of you, Pluto will bring you back. And I think that was a lot of people's experience in 2023, also because we had Pluto squaring the nodes at this time. Anyway, that's a different topic. But so what happens now is that this wisdom that has been so attached to death over the last 5 years, the wisdom from the death of a teacher, the wisdom from all of this, like having to end a pursuit that we were trying to go for, like something that felt like it started and then stopped again and started and stopped, we'd expand it, but then it would have to go back and die again. And I say this, but like it actually hits so deeply emotionally and it's not something you can resolve by just witnessing it. You have to go into it, which is why now, this month, we are doing that for the first time since 2020. We are actually contending with our personal power that has died. Like we watched it die in 2020. We fought for it in 2023, but it was basically the wrong decision, and we learned from it. And then now we are looking at it head on. And we're still recognizing that there could be failure, there could be death, and how we are never even going to know, how our intuition can fail us. But that's just part of the cycle, right? Like, so I think it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. And I think there's just something that's been so deep for each of us to, I'm going to stop the screen share. There's something that's been so deep that each of us have been having to kind of claw back into, and that's that South Node in Virgo. There's like a ritual, a habit, and that is the way we connect with God, with the Pisces North Node. And the Jupiter-Pluto dynamic will put so much stress on how our intuition is working, how we are listening to ourselves, and how we are living from our own personal power instead of giving that power away. So there's this dynamic with the Jupiter-Pluto opposition, and then Venus on the South Node right now that's saying, yeah, we do need to go backwards a little bit. We do need to reach back into the past of what it was that we wanted to be, and that maybe we tried and then were kicked into the ground and like shoved in under the weight of our own lies, under the weight of our own internal lack of belief in ourselves, which is challenging. It's lack of belief in the people around us. It's lack of belief in our own capacity. So I was thinking about this so much recently, just in my own life, right? Like I share all of this because I have such a direct storyline with this that I can't really share. It's very personal. I talked about it a bit I made a video a long time ago about Pluto and the death of your mind. I talked a little bit about it there. Mr. Blinky, this resonates for sure. My motivation is like waves crashing and then receding. That's very much so how this is. Like there's like a big buildup and then a crash. and then a big buildup with this opposition, and there might be another crash. Like, I can't say that this is like going to be the time where we are definitely going to do this big Jupiter and Leo thing of like expanding our charisma and being confident. You know what I mean? Pluto is really serious in its capacity to bring you back to reality, but the reality of your own personal power and like feeling disempowered. So I was just contending with that because I'm a very positive person. I'm a very positive astrologer, but if you like, my problem is I've been basing my interpretations over the last 5 years on the great conjunction that happened in 2020. And then I was thinking to myself, well, what is the planetary dance that would be a sustainable pattern to track, right? Like, what in our lives does not crash and recede like this? Like Mr. Blinky said, like, because I feel that all the time in life too, right? And I think the answer is actually Saturn and Jupiter. The Saturn Jupiter cycle is one that's actually incredibly stable in terms of just being able to grow your wisdom in a sustainable way, putting in effort. And the thing is, with the last Saturn Jupiter conjunction we had, it was same in 2020. It was at 0 Aquarius, which was, beyond Pluto. That was in a new phase conjunction to Pluto at that time, which means we were beyond the death, but it's still so close to that death, which is all to say that there was something in 2020 that was right, that we were supposed to start, and that was a sustainable thing that we are tracking right now. But it is so closely tied into these Jupiter-Pluto cycle of death, and the death of our wisdom, the death of our intuition, the death of our belief in ourself. And that's terrifying. Like, and the loss, the grief that came with that death, Here, my storms were brewing before COVID around 2018, 2019, lost my religion gradually. COVID was very special. And yes, I've been rebuilding forever and back to the same place again. Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of, how about the Uranus transit in Taurus? I mean, my goodness, that I don't even know where to begin with that. I mean, that was the great awakener for a lot of people. I mean, not everyone, right? I say that for me because that was I have my moon in Taurus when Uranus went over my moon, also in like 2017, 2018, maybe even 2019, I forgot what, but it's around the same time. That's basically when I quit everything in my life and had a huge change in my financial life. Uranus and Taurus was a lot about changing the values of humanity. And when I say values, I don't mean like, oh, I value family. I mean like the values that keep us alive, because that's ultimately what Taurus and Venus is. It is a biological survival mechanism. We have preferences so that we don't eat rotten fruit, and so Uranus being in Taurus just changed everything about how we were awake to survival and purpose and what our preferences were, so that we I think it genuinely just changed our preferences. It changed what we were living for on a personal level, which basically changes why we are alive, if that makes sense. My ceramic practice has really taught me to work with the earth slowly, intentionally, and consistently, respecting each step lesson as slowly as I need to before I can move to the next step. That's so beautiful. I mean, that is the lesson of everyone on the earth, I think, to do steps in the right order. And it's hard because Uranus exists. We're just talking about Uranus it doesn't need to take those Saturn steps, if you know what I mean. But there is I think our nervous system does not correlate to like the Uranian shakes, and we really need that stable growth. I mean, that description, Mr. McGee, of your ceramic practice is like true Saturn work, right? It's like true step-by-step processes. And it sounds like that lands so deeply for you. And that's Saturn work. Like, that's the actual work that will be reliable later on, not this like Pluto Jupiter work. Pluto Jupiter is crazy. Yeah, a shake every 7 years. Yeah, I mean it's for me it's very interesting because we are very Uranian. Like my whole premise of astrology being very limiting actually in terms of how we are identifying ourselves and how we are learning and growing through astrology, I do think it's very limited. And that's because I think there's a part of us that isn't from here. There's a part of us that's connected to something so beyond that's not at the whim of the stars. It's not. And I think that part of us is more powerful than everything else. And that is kind of a Uranian concept. So I'm not here to throw Uranus under the bus. And I think especially because Pluto in Aquarius right now, we are really supposed to be taking these Uranian perspectives very, very seriously. And I think that's like literally the edge, right? Is that our lives, what we're doing with our lives right now is contributing to the transformation of the definition of what it means to be human, right? And so it's not, I mean, yeah, it's a shake every 7 years, but it's like a reminder of personal freedom. And I think that this big configuration of the planets right now, everything is reinforcing each other. Saturn, your Aries stuff is reinforcing personal power. Pluto stuff and Gemini stuff is reinforcing the power of your mind and the power of the people around you. There's, Pluto is done in Capricorn, right? There's nothing, no more transformation. we're living in the wake of it still. I would say for these first 5 degrees of Pluto and Aquarius, but yeah, I mean, over this same period, these 3 dates I just shared, 2020, 2023, Pluto was still right at the edge of Capricorn, going in and out of Aquarius. And that was terrifying. That was like, it's not been an easy last 6 years, I think, for anybody. But I think that, again, the point over the next 20 is to redefine humanity. It's to transform it. But in order to do that, we need to give ourselves entirely into the fire while maintaining a nervous system, while maintaining our lives, while enjoying our lives in the way that's unique to us. Okay. Hi, Peach Doors. Good to see you. I've just been on a soapbox as usual. But yeah, I don't know. I think everyone really should watch this movie, K-pop Demon Hunters. I don't know why. I'm really not a movie person, but it just hit me so hard when I watched it for the first time late last year. And I think there's a recognition of failure in it that's also very human. There's a recognition of hurting other people that's very human. There's a recognition of present moment capacity to choose to heal. That doesn't have to come from what we think healing is anymore. And I think that's liberating. Like, you need to liberate from the thing. Like, there's levels, right? Once you use what liberated you first, like that's the whole Saturn Uranus dynamic, is like we live through our lives and we're liberating from the Saturn structure that's holding us in. But eventually the structure that liberated us, or whatever the pathway that liberated us, becomes crystallized. Once we live through it for long enough, it crystallizes in itself, and then we need to liberate from it again. It's a perpetual cycle. And so I see like astrology becoming so crystallized. And it's not to say it's not still useful, but it is to say that it too needs to be broken from, because I do think there is a lot of jagged edges. And this is my own personal work. That's what I contend with as I look at astrology, and I hate being on YouTube on astrology. Like YouTube is challenging entirely for me these days. When I first studied astrology, I would consume so much content, and what a gift to be able to get so much free wisdom online. You know what I mean? But you have to be at the beat of your own drum, and you have to be building life in the way that's right for you, and that is your Saturn. That's truly, truly your Saturn. And it also is truly the part of you that even is beyond Uranus. It's beyond Neptune. It's beyond Pluto. Okay? It's like being consciousness itself, right? And Pluto being an Aquarius, right? Aquarius being that backdrop of consciousness. All of our magnetized attention is in the backdrop of consciousness. That's why attention is currency right now. I heard someone describe Pluto as making small things big and big things small, and yet Uranus is that mythical trauma of destruction and creation, and collective Aquarius has this Libra discernment. Ooh, say more about the Libra discernment. That sounds interesting. Yeah, Pluto's, I've heard this before too. Pluto's making small things big and big things small. I think it's where, again, where we're not putting enough power into something and we're putting too much power into something else. So it's this weird mix of astrology is real and it's limiting if we keep ourselves locked into a structure that is limiting us. I don't know how else to put it. So I hope this has been helpful. I mean, I don't know towards what end. I also think that I'm so jazzed about this right now just because of the Venus on the South Node. Again, I'll say this until I die. South Node is not a drain. It's not something we need to let go of. I actually think it's something, if there's strong feelings coming up at a South Node transit, there's something we need to work with, something pre-existing. That's all the South Node means, is that it's something's pre-existing and it's time for us to work with it. Saturn is on my South Node in my birth chart. And so I'm like, all I have is like a well of Saturn stuff to work with. You know what I mean? So now with Venus on the South Node, there is something that we want in the past, right? And I think that these cycles of getting into new groups or new ideas, being pulled into new paradigms of what humanity is, but then feeling very disempowered by it or going through emotional turmoil because of it. That's been my experience, basically. I don't know, maybe at one point I'll share much more about what my emotional experience has been over these last 6 years, but it's been crazy because I made a lot of big changes in my life in 2020, and then things felt like they only got worse as time went on, where I chose thinking that I was empowering myself in every choice that I make, but things just got harder and harder and harder. And I tried to go back on my decision, it didn't work. Like there's a lot of, but I'm Saturn in Aries. I feel like I'd rather learn by putting my hand on the fire than take someone else's word for it. But that's not going to be your life if you have like Saturn in Capricorn. Like that's going to be a very different setup for you. Okay, it's like how we can have a collective thought while also discerning aims, like the Capricorn tribalism. Oh, interesting. I like that. So collective Aquarius has this Libra discernment. Yeah, I guess it's the triad working together, right? Like the Libra discernment sounds to me like a relational discernment, like a balance of what the collective needs to balance it out at any point. Musical chairs between competing circles of chairs. Oh, that's an interesting mental image. I'll have to sit with that one for a minute. But yeah, Capricorn tribalism is real for a reason. You know what I mean? Like Capricorn's not bad. Not bad. Like we need to be compressed, and that's how reality forms. You know what I mean? But you can also break reality, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? We have to remove the moral structures from the world, and I think that's what this movie also talks a lot about, is like you accept where you have hurt other people, you accept where you've lied to other people, and you watch everyone shatter. You watch yourself shatter. You stop keeping yourself to standards of, let's say, that Capricorn tribalism that aren't helpful anymore, while recognizing at some point in the past that's what you needed, that's what the collective needed. And I just think that this Venus on the South Node is really just drawing me back so deeply into the past that I gave up so much because I was so hurt, honestly, throughout this Jupiter-Pluto cycle. And I think each of us might have something like that in our lives. And I'd rather test it myself than take the interpretations of people that I don't know, or experiences or wisdom traditions that are not, again, that I don't have direct experience with. I think direct experience is the most important thing that we can have. There's way too much mind, right? Like, there's way too much mind. And again, that's also Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto coming to rebalance how intellectualized our world has become. And that process brings us so deep into more intellectual, more online, more phone, more scrolling, till we die. Like, until we are literally dead to the version of us that can do that. But because Jupiter's on the other end, we have the polarity point balancing it out, which is our sense of self in Leo. We have the polarity point of like our unique purpose, the thing that we are proud of, the thing that we can expand our heart into, the thing we can express ourselves to the death. Pragmatism of communal group, Capricorn, then the idealism of global collective, like both crashing and receding. Exactly. The crashing and receding is completely the opposition. And the wisdom of the opposition is knowing when to step in and when to step out. Like, when are you going to engage the world as yourself, and when are you going to take time out, because you need to do both. And it's crazy because we're both of these things. Each of us individually is both Pluto and Jupiter. But I do think at different moments in our lives, we see ourselves as one or the other. Like, for example, in this moment right here, I'm Jupiter in Leo. And like, you guys are Aquarius, Pluto, if that makes sense. I'm sure there's a world in which that could be switched. But like, I have some wisdom about self, Jupiter and Leo, that I'm wanting to impart to the internet. And you guys are Pluto and Aquarius. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so, and of course the sun is in Cancer right now, which is, my birthday was 2 days ago. I had a very lovely birthday. I always love my birthday though. I'm someone that likes my birthday. I'm 30, so I'm in the middle of my Saturn return. But yeah, sun in Cancer is what's ruling Jupiter in, oh yeah, the sun. That's right. Sun in Cancer is ruling Jupiter in Leo right now, which is to say this is like a very emotional time. Like very big expanding emotions. Thank you. My body's an oracle. And so it's really the emotional thing. That's why I'm so pro whatever music, whatever playful thing will actually elicit emotions in you. That's why I shared the K-pop Demon Hunters thing, because that will get me every time. Whatever the thing is that will allow you to access your emotions is the right direction to go right now. And then with the Mercury retrograde, we have to process it. How's my solar return chart looking? You know, it's nice. It's not bad. I mean, listen, my solar return chart is very close to this current transit chart right now. So it's like Venus is near the south node, Pluto squaring my moon, Saturn squaring my sun. So there's a ton of pressure. I mean, I just feel enormous pressure. And it is all to do with me making myself sustainable in the world. Like, standing up for myself and creating that Capricorn stuff in ways that will help sustain me. But I think my lessons that I'm learning recently are about vulnerability, because I think I know a lot, and I think that I'm good at being emotional, but being truly vulnerable, even though I'm emotional, being truly vulnerable means that you are at the edge of giving your power away, but you're not. You're transparent in what you're not good at, and you're transparent. And it's like, vulnerability is basically like allowing someone the option of killing you and then them not killing you, right? And that is the lesson that I think I'm deepening in, because I think that I'm good at being vulnerable, but then I come to it and I'm like, oh, this is hard. You know what I mean? That's the thing. There's no one definition of what anything is, right? And who we think we are is often not who we are at all. So anyway, that's how my solar return chart is looking to me. But what else? I don't know. Any other questions on any of this? Please talk to me. I mean, this, trying to think. Well, I'm almost double your age and I'm just starting to learn about vulnerability. Well, see what I mean? Like you're doing it in the right order that you needed to. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah, there's no real compare, like, and that's the other thing. We can think we're comparing ourselves to each other, but it's like each of us are like entire universes to ourselves. And these common archetypes we think we're pointing to the same thing. And I think a lot of the times we are, and that's where resonance happens. But that's why it's so important to actually feel things and be in your body and find physical resonance. And that was, I think, maybe something we were learning with Uranus and Taurus, like physical vibrations, physical resonance, because I think it's so easy to stay in the mind. It's so easy to convince ourselves of things and then act on what we convince ourselves in our mind, instead of feeling the physical effects of whatever is going on. Like I could love intellectually being with someone, but my physical body was very unsafe, felt very insecure, right? Anyway, I'm on a tangent here, but I'm just saying everyone's really on their own timeline with this. Almost double my age also means you might be going through a Saturn return, which is cool. I love a Saturn return. But anyway, vulnerability, yeah. Try acting class. Hey, that's a good idea. I'm 40 and I had no idea how to mask my emotions. Only now I've been able to experience the complexity of my emotions and see how I seem to experience more than one emotion at a time, and then sitting with each emotion. Wow, that's incredible work. Yeah. Experience the complexity. It's so interesting. I'd be so curious to hear more about that emotion, that process of like being with and witnessing emotions, because here's the other thing. Like vulnerability is weird and emotional stuff is weird because it's not true. Like emotions aren't, okay, this is going to sound egregious, but like, okay, I'm a Cancer. Like emotions aren't real. Like emotions aren't the thing that you should direct your life around, but they are real to you. And they are like barometers to your personal interpretation of the situation, but they are as changeable as flipping a new tarot card, for example. But like the emotion will, like, because here's the thing, I do think people can spend too much time in emotions. And I do think, like everything, there's a balance. Like we can use our minds to like just choose to stop feeling something, which I think is different from repression. I think it's different from disassociation. And I think, like, I wonder, Mr. Blinky and even My Body's an Oracle and anyone who feels like they're coming into more emotional wisdom throughout their life, like, I don't know, like there's usually just shifts. Like, how do I put this? I don't know. I kind of lost that, but I guess I'm trying to make the point that, like, for example, I was overly emotional, and then the last 2 years, I like cut myself off emotionally. And then now I realized I went a bit too far having cut myself off, and I need to come back a little bit. And so I think life kind of works like that as well. Like it's kind of like the inhale, exhale. And so everyone's very different, whether your baseline is masking emotion or not knowing how to mask emotion, whether your baseline is being overly emotional and then having to learn, right? Emotional literacy will be the currency to value for the years to come, I believe. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think, again, yeah. I also, I don't know. I agree. There's so much there. That sentence like blew up my brain, and I haven't like I don't even know how to put that into words. I think, yeah, I agree. This is why, my friend Jen, who I'm doing a workshop with later this month, if you want to meet her and hang out with us, she started a project on the astrology of emotions, which I think is a huge undertaking, and I think it's been hard for her to do that. But I think it's a really honorable pursuit. And I agree that emotional literacy will be a huge currency. But I also think younger generations have that, like they're much more attuned to themselves in that way. And I think that that's just the change of the Pluto and Aquarius time, the shift. I'm sorry, the change of the Pluto and Capricorn time and the shift into Pluto and Aquarius time. So I think your body will let you know how much to shrink when you're ready for being right. Absolutely. Right. And that comment really brings you back to this idea of like right timing for everything, right? Like we're all in our own contraction and expansion cycles. Um, but yeah, I live with an emotional vampire and I still don't put up a large wall, but I'm imagining my fire sitting in a ship amidst a stormy ocean. But with family vampirism in experience anger. Yeah, you know, and disappointment and alienation. Yeah, that's a real issue. I think a lot of people live with like challenging people around them. And I think who you are around most of the time has a huge impact on how you see yourself. And so if you're constantly having to like do these protective mechanisms and like experience these challenging things, like I'm someone that's very quick to say cut and move on. Like I'm very quick to try to get myself out of environments, but I know how difficult it is as well, to shift and to move physically. Um, but it is, you learn so much about like it reminds me of being in jail or something, but the wisdom of recognizing like your consciousness will stay the same whether you're in a bad situation or you're in a good situation. And ultimately, it just comes down to choice. Um, but in this, yeah, it's hard when you're constantly around someone that is not changing, or like there's not a capacity to meet and to balance disappointment and alienation. I mean, I think it's rampant disappointment and alienation, probably like feeling alone as well, like that loneliness is huge. It's so huge. But that's why, yeah, I don't know. That's why what, but I think everyone has felt that. And then when it, like, how do we choose? I think something I wanted to also bring up, and then maybe I'll end this with Tiny Tarot because I forgot to do that the last few live streams. But do you guys know this person, this creator, Edia ASMR? So I don't follow really tarot people online, but I like her. She put out a video recently on how she practices spirituality but doesn't believe in it. And it's in the same vein, I think, of what like the conclusions that I've been coming to. It's also in the same vein. I think something is going on right now collectively around leaving spirituality, or like metaphysical, like trying to understand everything basically is not helpful anymore. And I think a lot of people in 2020, a lot of that Jupiter Pluto was like wanting to expand your belief in the occult, like expand your belief in power, and like all of these, like basically learn about spirituality. Pluto is a deeply spiritual sign. But I think now at the opposition, we're realizing that the heart, and, it's not just like a mental thing to like to understand. Understanding is infinite. But anyway, Edia ASMR, her whole video was about how she uses spirituality but doesn't believe in it. And she's like got a huge following of people for her tarot online. And it kind of reminded me of the Alex Reed's situation. I never knew who Alex Reed's was before this recent thing where she left tarot for Christianity. But I can appreciate both of these reflections that both of these creators have made because it's coming from me from the heart, which is the very Jupiter Leo thing. It's coming from a very personal desire, not even desire, personal direct experience with what is true, like what they can actually sell. Jupiter, oddly, is this thing of what we can sell. Like, what's the story that we can share? And I think in Leo, it's like it has to be bright. It has to be in the present moment. And like all of this secret occult stuff for many people who are not having like direct experiences with, I don't know what it would be, like aliens or revelations or I don't know. But I think a lot of people are making that shift. And of course, it's a phase like everything else. But I don't know. I notice it in myself too. Mr. Blake, I'm an Aries, so I stubbornly hold on to my identity and boundaries used to make me feel differently than myself. But I'm getting better at holding my identity without others' perception. That's great. I mean, it's funny you say Aries and holding. It gives me more of a Taurus vibe, like being stubborn and holding on. I think, I don't know. My dad's an Aries. I've had many Aries in my life as well. And I think Aries is stubborn in a fun way because they're like, they just have to be themselves. Like I feel Taurus stubbornness is a bit more like they're not going to move, but Aries, you have to show up as yourself. If that means you're going to burn someone else, if that means you're going to burn yourself, like you have to be in the present moment. You have to be yourself. You have to express that. So I can appreciate that for sure. And like, look at all the Aries stuff we have right now. Saturn, Neptune, like that's the whole kit and caboodle to a certain extent. And now that Jupiter is in a fellow fire sign, we're going to get that trine. And I really like that trine between Jupiter and Saturn. That'll be later this year. I think that's going to be the best. That's going to be, like I said earlier, when we check cycles in astrology, like so much attention can go to Pluto and death and transformation, because that's the whole point. Like Pluto is magnetic. It's going to bring you there regardless. But if we're looking at sustainability, if we're looking at, right, like the experience you wrote earlier of like ceramics and like actually doing things in the right order so that you feel the growth and the learning every step you need to, that's a Saturn-Jupiter thing. That's a Saturn-Jupiter thing. And I think we've come out of that Saturn-Jupiter square, which was really hard over the last 2 years, where we really had to assert what our belief was with Jupiter, as we were being restricted in that at the same time. But with this trine, there's going to be an opportunity, a creative opportunity to step into that. All the work we've been putting on creating a stubborn identity for ourselves with Saturn and Aries, like we're going to be able to hold our own weight and share something with the world that's actually the point. And that's something I'm very much so looking forward to. So, okay, well, maybe I'll start shuffling this little tarot deck. If anyone has any other questions or wants me to speak on anything more, if you got here like later, go watch K-pop Demon Hunters. And then like every time you see a girl group out in the world, that's like Aquarius Leo, or like, like the group is Aquarius, and then it's like such a crazy double inversion of the patterning. You know what I mean? Because like celebrity is Leo and then the fans are Aquarius. But when you have a girl group like Cat's Eye or Blackpink or any of the bajillion Korean groups, it's like they are an Aquarian group to themselves. You know what I mean? And yet they're all the Leo within the group. And so there's this very interesting fractaling dynamic that happens in groups And that's just something to consider for yourself. I feel like it's asking us to believe in our own theory, but now we have to craft a method to do it. No, that's perfect. That doesn't sound confused at all. What's backwards about it? No. I think that's right. I think you've put that really well. We have to believe in our own theory, but now we have to craft a method to do it. Yeah, that's the Saturn-Jupiter dynamic. Craft a method to do it would be Saturn in Aries, right? A personal method, but believing in our theory. Jupiter is absolutely about theory. Believing in it is very Leo. I think you're spot on. And I think that's what 2020 asked us, was to develop something on our own, right? Beyond a structure, beyond an institution, because Pluto killed that in Capricorn. And so the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that happened in Aquarius at 0 Aquarius was like, start something from your mind, right? Like really start something, or with a collective. But it's so difficult because I did that. And then it was incredibly empowering. And then I had like the worst fall of my life 3 years later. Like that pursuit brought me into one of the most, I mean, like the challenge had already existed before that conjunction, before that time. But me choosing to build on that brought me straight into the fire. That was the most like challenging pre-existing relationship dynamic that I had in my life so far. And so at that conjunction many years ago, I thought that I would be able to grow with it. But in fact, I lost it around the square, around 2023, 2024. And I read that as you just get put back on yourself, right? Like the groups were changing. And also I think because Pluto was moving between Aquarius and Capricorn at that time, we weren't solidly with the right group yet. And so anyway, I don't know, that makes me very emotional. I'm like, the feeling of repeated failure in showing up to do the thing you think you're meant to do. And the thing that doesn't leave your brain, which again, today, Venus on the South Node is connecting us to that past thing that we love. Virgo is a ritual. Virgo is the way that you are like repeating the process because you know it's going to get you to God. And that's the only way you're going to get to God. As a carpenter, I followed the instructions to make the thing, but I failed to ask to consider what the thing is and create the instructions. Wow, what a cool analogy. That's very cool. That's incredible, actually. I think my problem is the other way. I always see what the thing is, and then I make instructions. And then I fail because I make the wrong instructions. Like I'm following instructions that I like pull out of my ass, basically. But I am asked to consider what the thing is, and then well, yeah. And like, what are we doing other than that? You know what I mean? Like trial by fire, basically, like trial and error. That kind of sounds like that's what you're being asked to do. And I think, again, that's the failure that's implicit in life. That's why I like K-pop Demon Hunters. It's so real. It's not just like a hero's journey. And I know the hero fails in the hero's journey as well, but there's so much more like valor in that story, which feels much more like a Capricorn story. I love that, Mr. Blinky. That's a really, really good analogy. I'll probably use that. I never follow the instructions, which has been my lifelong problem. And so like, I'll go back and try to follow it, but then it doesn't work either. Like I have my, Jupiter is in Capricorn. And so I would really like to be able to follow instructions, but then the ruling planet is Saturn in Aries, which says, I am the one who has the instructions that I need to give to Jupiter. And so it's been this, anyway, that's my chart, but okay. Please put something else in the chat if you'd like. I'm going to pull one tiny tarot to like close this out. This tiny tarot has been so fun because I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this logic of like making things small in your head. Like when something's overwhelming, like you can close your eyes and you can imagine the issue and then just like make it smaller and like put it into like a, you know, context. Okay. And I used to take tarot like way too seriously. And then I found these tiny tarot cards and I'm like, yeah, they're not that serious. Like, it's very fun. I always have fun with these cards and they're very nice. That's how I feel about them. But again, they mean nothing. Astrology means nothing. Go check out that Edia SMR's video. I think she puts it very, very well. It's a little intellectual. It's like a little heady and scripted, but I think it's really good. So I agree with her if you want to know. But anyway, okay, let me pull one more. Just one card, and then I'll end it. Such a cute little. Okay, interesting. 7 of Pentacles. This is like a waiting card. I kind of hate it, honestly. But that's just because, you know, that is a waiting card for the crops to come, right? Or like for the time to harvest, you know what I mean? And let's see how his expression is. He's okay. He looks okay, actually. And I wonder if that's like, we are so close. Like everything is grown. Like they're all there. And this is just kind of like a timing card, which I don't know how I feel about. But to me, it's like, yeah, we're about to hit that opposition, which is the time where the fruits fall off of the trees and you have to harvest it. You have to engage with the world. But now it's like we're almost there. And what happens in the astrology of like almost being at an opposition is I've pulled 7 of Pentacles so many times in the last 2 years. Oh, look at you all are so into this. It's my card, sweet first decan of Virgo. I don't work with the decans at all. So if you want to share more about that, and Peach Doors, why is it your card? Just because you've pulled it so many times, or do you feel you identify with it? Yeah, so like it's called the gibbous phase opposition, before the exact opposition, which means that it's kind of like the analogy that I've learned is it's like being in nursing school. Okay, like you're like about to graduate nursing school and go become your own, like go actually join a hospital as a nurse, but like you go and you try to help someone and then maybe you mess up, so you have to go back, or you have to go learn or memorize. You don't have the right information, you didn't memorize it, but you have to go back to school. But you're not going that far back, you're just going a little bit back, and then you're going to go out again the next day. But it's like once that opposition hits, that's graduation time. And of course you can go study on your own if you want, but you're out of the preparation stage. And so that's kind of what this 7 of Pentacles is giving me at this time. Something about to be harvested, which is very South Node as well, you know? And I think that it tracks for me only insofar also as we are in the waning moon time, new moon next week, and then all of the second half of July is just this trines and sextiles just exacting, you know what I mean? I think it's a large lesson I've been integrating, just patiently putting in work and knowing when to wait. I think about the tortoise and the hare all constantly. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I have my Aries stuff hates it, hates waiting. I agree. I totally agree. But yeah, it's funny. But it's nice to see all the pentacles grown, you know what I mean? Sounds like you have a lot of wisdom there, Peach Doors. I don't remember anything about your chart, but maybe there's some I mean, I have a Taurus moon, which is ridiculous. You wouldn't think I have a Taurus moon, but it's because it's exactly square Uranus in my chart that I think that's why I don't have normal Taurus things other than like my painting practice and like making paint. Okay, well, I think it might be time for me to end. My computer is hitting the sun, so I don't want it to blow up. That would be a very Pluto Leo thing if my computer blew up because of the sun, like too much Jupiter Leo heat onto my Pluto Aquarius machine. Okay, well, thank you guys. I'm also Saturn in Aries, but I have Mercury Taurus right on the descendant, and it rules everything in my chart with it. Oh, there you go. Mercury Taurus is one of my like favorite Mercury signs, because it's like the most beautiful way of being rational, in my opinion. Like it's very stubborn, but it's very like thoughts are not so crazy, if that makes sense, from the people that I know. I mean, I have Mercury Cancer, and so I'm just waves crashing all the time. But yes, I also have Gemini Venus too. We must be around the same age. We must have similar birthdays, Peach Doors. Actually, well, yeah, who knows? But all right. Okay, my friends. Well, thank you so much. If you want, you can check out this class that I'm doing with Jen later this month. We're going to go through the Saturn Neptune phases. First quarter. Oh, you're younger. Okay, cool. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, and like basically talk about what we're building over the next 18 years. And then just teaching on phases, and everyone will be with each other. That should be fun. And then I'm still running this thing. If you want to join my Substack for $5 a month, you can get half off a reading. There's a good chance I'm like going to be posting a lot more on Substack behind that paywall. I'm still going to do lives, but like, I don't know. The internet and YouTube is so weird. It feels more protected to be not that I need protection, but like, I don't know, contained, held on Substack. So if you're interested in that, you can do that. But yeah, let me know if there's anything else you want me to do, because I don't know what to do with astrology these days. But definitely creative stuff, like astrology for artists, I'm going to do again probably in August. Rulerships seem to be the thing that makes the most sense to me, and the most helpful thing for people, because everything else is just like nonsense. Like rulerships give you very practical steps. That's my Jupiter Capricorn. Like I actually want to inspire growth and to like coach growth, and like not just talk about poetic stuff all the time, even though I'm a Pisces rising. Anyway, so yes, I'm open. Talk to me, join my Substack, get a reading, and let me know what else you want. So, okay, my friends, I'm not sure when I'll be back on a live, but until we get to the opposition later this month, have a lovely life. Be as alive as you can. All right. Much love. Bye-bye.